Subhanallah. I think, this is a situation that has been very trying. It's required great patience from us. Um, and I think that, at moments like these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends us reminders that, although the road ahead appears, rocky, we have to just persist. And as we, continue toward, the freedom and liberation of the Palestinian people, um, you know, we're also getting the help of Allah. We're also getting the help of Allah, in the form of, the support of many of our neighbors. Yeah.
And honestly, if you really think about it and you reflect on history, Shaykh Ubaydullah, there has never been an instance in history where a mass student protest was not on the right side of justice.
That's true. I mean,
And all of these
and
students
that's what
that
I was going to say, man. The student movement in the 1960s with the Vietnam War was such an influential. I mean, and it was actually a shooting that took place at Kent State University, but that some people say that this was the moment that public opinion of the war really began changing. Right, it was at that moment that many Americans started to sour on the idea of America's, engagement, in the jungles of Vietnam.
because those were covered. Like our news sources, our news media has been failing us consistently for the past 200 days. But lo and behold, what are they covering now?
Of
Everyone
course,
knows about these protests.
of course,
Now
of
people are
course.
going to be curious. Why are they protesting? What are they doing? Why are they putting their lives at risk? SubhanAllah, may Allah place barakah and protect the young generation from all harm. I mean, so a couple of questions, one from our audience before I ask one of my own. But Sheikh, do you have any insight on how we can find protests to join or other ways to be active?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I think that that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that I mentioned is such a source of mercy, because the Prophet ﷺ is ranking in descending order how we should respond to oppression and wrongdoing. If you can directly intervene, directly intervene. If you can raise your voice, raise your voice. And then finally, he said, if you can't do anything else, أن تكرهه في قلبك وهذا أضعف الإيمان, to at least hate it in your heart, and that is the weakest of faith. So we should do whatever we can do. Um, when you cease to hate it in your heart, some scholars say that's when there is no iman. Right? If you see this kind of wrong and you don't feel anything, like I'm just, now being desensitized to it as a means of just protecting your psychological and spiritual survival. Like very early on into this, genocidal campaign, I had to cut my phone off because it was causing me a great deal of pain, actually, sometimes physical pain. So I just decided, like, I'm not going to look at it anymore. And my dua is for the people of Philistine. And I've attended a few protests. I haven't been as a regular at protests and intentional political action, but I'm sure if you look on social media, you'll find ways that you can get involved if you want to get involved at the level of protest. If you want to get involved at the level of just trying to open some psychological space among your neighbors, among your colleagues, at the very least, and this probably this sounds like it's not really significant, but I've found that it is, at the very least, not allowing people to forget the humanity of the people that are being slaughtered. We have a very disorienting media culture. so that, the way that these deaths are covered, it's very easy if you're like just a person that doesn't have a deeply emotional bond with the people in Gaza or the West Bank. Say, oh, I mean, there's some wars been going on for a long time. I know it's a dispute about land. I know there was an attack on October 7th, and the government of Israel is retaliating to secure its borders. Blah, blah, blah. Very easy to kind of bypass the moral stain that is genocide with boilerplate the language of conventionality, to remind people that there are hundreds of, not hundreds, but there are, or perhaps I don't know the statistics exactly, but there are many children that have been maimed without limbs. Most of the insurgents that they're trying to engage in combat are actually underground. Most of the damage has been to the civilian infrastructure of Gaza, what civilian infrastructure was there, and women and children that are completely uninvolved in any military conflict. This is bloodlust, simple and plain. And just to remind people of that, whether it's just a neighbor, of course, with cordiality and the right kind of comportment, but to remind neighbors and colleagues and classmates of that, so that they're not duped by this intentionally anesthetizing language that just dulls the moral guilt that one should feel at being complicit in this genocide.
There's a couple of one other question. One of the responses, one of our beautiful Celebrate Mercy community members has been responding to Mariam Dear with their responses as well. Are you okay with me sharing some of those on screen, inshallah? They've been saying, like, you can find your local chapter of the Palestine Network or check through your local care office. But then they also said you don't have to just be in protest. You can actually do sincere dua, which can literally change divine decree. And then this is important. There are so many prayer circles and there are dua of the oppressed that are held virtually. Manistan is doing incredible work in this space. Those are great ways for you to help without endangering yourself if it's dangerous for you to protest. I kind of want to touch on this point. Okay. What are your thoughts, or how would you advise individuals who sometimes tend to criticize each other within our community of you're doing too much, that's not going to work, or you're not doing enough, why aren't you going out there and doing something?
Yeah,
How do you navigate those types of
Bismillah wa salam ala Rasulillah. I think that we tend to forget that Allah Ta'ala says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Cling, all of you, to the rope of Allah together, and don't be divided among yourselves. In another ayah, Allah actually says that the result of dissension is تَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ, that your strength departs you. If you really are concerned about the liberation of Palestine and the safety and security of the people being viciously attacked in Palestine, you have to know that our intramural love, our brotherhood, our sisterhood, our coming together is a part of building the kind of power that can liberate those people. Right? When and this is cliche at this point, when they say that the strategy used by most oppressors is divide and conquer, there's a reason why that's cliche, because it works. If I can get people who want the same thing, but maybe have different levels of investment, different levels of activity, different strategies to fight each other, if I can get them online calling each other names, criticizing each other, they are mutually invalidating each other's protests, right? Both of them intend some kind of, intentional, moral, and political action. If I can get them to discredit each other, half of my work is done, right? I can get you to do my bidding. On the other hand, if you take issue with something that is being done, and you state that maybe privately to somebody leading an initiative, or you make very clear that while we have some strategic or we have some strategic differences, we want the same thing, right? We want the same thing, and what unites us is more important to us than those strategic differences, right? I think this is very important, and I really think when we fail to take a stance as nuanced and as respectful as that one, we all are undermining ourselves. It's like you're cutting off your own legs, right? You're cutting off your own legs. You need, one of the, they say that you always treat people well when you recognize that you need them to achieve your mission, right? When I recognize that, if I need you to achieve my goal, right? This is usually an invitation for me to treat you with respect because I recognize that I need you. And so the way I would deal with that is like, brothers and sisters, this is a time in which we really need each other. We really need each other, and that should lead to greater love for one another, and making better excuses for one another, right?
And on that note, then, right, all of these initiatives, protests, rallies, encampments, call for divestments, the abandoned Biden campaign, the uncommitted campaign,
Dry circles, everything,
the dua circles, the vigils, all of them are powerful collectively.
Absolutely.
And
They
all
all
of them are needed.
everything amplifies everything
Yes,
else, right?
100%.
Everything, it's like, although they're taking a different approach, we're all on the same side of the line as far as this genocide is concerned.
Exactly. Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. Just really quickly, one of the questions was about, or in reference to the verse that you referred to. What verse was that you reflected on today, and if it was something that was part of today's program? I think earlier from your main talk. Yeah, Sister Lily, do you mind just clarifying it a little bit, and then I'll bring it back up on the screen once it's clarified. Jazakumullah khairan.
Was it about was it about?
You referenced several verses, though.
No. I think she's talking about when I came on, I thought we were going to reflect on Surah Al-Kahf.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And, and you said, no, we've changed the format. You can actually just go straight into the topic. Yeah, I was going to talk about the people of the cave and how, I was going to talk about the people of the cave and how they did everything they could. How, with things being the way that they were, all they could do was retreat. That's all they could do is retreat. And it's not the means that one takes to do what is pleasing to Allah, is that one wants to do something that is pleasing to Allah. And so I was actually, but this is subhanAllah, I was actually going to talk about how this is not a time to criticize. each other. Everybody is doing what they can in their capacity. We have a story that has been immortalized in the Quran of people who just ran. That's all they could. They just ran, right? And no one said, they fled. No one. Well, they could have did this. They should have did this. Why did they do this? Why did they die martyrs? Why did they die like the people of the ditch? Why did they? Why did they? No. All they could do was just flee, and their story was immortalized in the Quran. So I wanted to kind of use that as a point of departure to say, these people on campus right now are doing what they can, and I don't think they should be ridiculed. I don't think this is even some of those more heady debates that I've also participated in. Intellectual debates, about protests and this protest culture, and this is something out of a leftist playbook. And no, this isn't the time for that. This is time to come together and engage in the strongest collective action possible, to do whatever we can, just like the Ashab al-Kahf, the people of the cave, did whatever they could.
Sure. Looking to see if the audience has any more questions specifically, but you didn't touch on this, so I'm going to ask about your thoughts on Colombia and just any reflections. Would you want to go visit? How was the culture there when you were there? Is it hard to believe, easy to believe?
Well, listen, I've visited that campus. I actually never went to that Columbia College.
Okay.
I know everyone thinks that, but it's not hard to believe. I think that I was just at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie. Last weekend, and I got a chance to speak to the president of the college, and she was, she struck me as a very genuine, conscientious woman, and she said to me, I really want to do something on campus to benefit the Palestinian people and to satisfy some of the political demands of the SJP. She then said, BDS, if they choose to make BDS, boycott, divest, sanction, the sticking point of any conversation about collective action, that puts me, in a very, very difficult position. I think that, and the way that I responded to that was, I think some students should continue driving that line, right, without compromise of BDS. And if there is something intermediate that can be done, that would also help, that would also lend itself to what we want in terms of a ceasefire, political pressure on our elected officials, etc., to end this genocide, those things should be done too. That's where I think, in a place like Colombia, I think Muslims should be working on all fronts and not saying, well, because when you say, it's this or nothing, you give a person a chance to do nothing, right? When you say it's this or nothing, you give a person a chance to do nothing. When you say it's this, when I say it's this or nothing, right? And then my sister Noor says, well, even if you don't do this, right? I think we're, you know, I don't see, I don't see those as competing voices. See, some people would say the person is saying this or nothing might feel like, no, that's a competing voice because we're giving them an out not to do this. Right? I think no, I'm not giving them any out. I'm still saying this or nothing. That's that's another group of people that are deeply, impassioned and concerned about this issue. That other group, they're saying, we'll accept, some other measure. And so I think we have to be wise about that. But Columbia would strike me as a place. Just knowing the place, I've lectured at Barnard, I've lectured at Columbia. Knowing the place, it's not surprising to me that their investments in Zionism are very, very deep.
You really hit the nail on the head. Again, Chick, honestly, it's like there's multiple groups at every university right now. There's SJP, then there's the faculty committee, there's faculty groups, there's admin groups, there's undergrad groups, grad groups, and there's all different kinds. There's coalition groups, there's also MSAs that are the voices of this, right? So there's multiple groups, and if each of them approach it in multiple ways, right? What that forces the university to do is that they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
They end up becoming stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then they have to mentally give into each demand, and then the next demand, and then the next demand, and then the next demand.
Well, I think no, I think you're right.
Yes.
No, I think you're right, and I think that whenever someone is sitting in an armchair like this, talking about political strategy, there must be this grain of salt with which that is taken. If and this is why I think communication among the groups working on this issue is very. If the feeling is that no, we actually have them close to divesting, and we don't want to give them any other out, then maybe that is the best strategy. But if they're just holding their position and they're saying, well, look, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I don't see it as, pragmatism does have its place in good politics. If it's just at this point, we're at, an ideological stalemate. We're not moving. You're not moving. And there are things that can be done in the meantime. My own approach is that, let's not allow, a perfect solution to be the enemy of a good solution.
We're going to do different facets here at Drexel University in tandem with UPenn and Temple, but one of the things that we're demanding right now is a history on Palestine course. So we have a history of Israel course, but no history of Palestine. The history of Palestine is weirdly taught in the history of Israel course by the same professor. SubhanAllah, we're like, how can you be both? You can't be both. But anyway, so we're like, okay, we demand divestment, but you also need to do this. However this turns out in the next by tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now, you still need a history of Palestine class. You still need the course.
Yeah, I'm from that school. I do know that I could totally understand other voices that feel like no, don't give them an out, and that's another school. And if that appeared to be in a given situation the best approach, I would have no problem saying this is the approach that should be adopted.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alhamdulillah, may Allah make it easy for our students. They're fighting this battle against individuals who have promised them that they would get a world-class education. Because every student is at a university to get a world-class education. They have been promised, and those promises are being broken. So may these students find a way to hold every single educator accountable.
Ameen, ya Rab.
We are nearing the end of our session. I want to say a special thank you, Shaykh Ubaydullah. May Allah reward you.
This was an honor. This was an honor. I mean, I want to say, again, nothing but admiration and respect for everyone. Muslims and other folks that have, engaged in such a beautiful and intentional way. Nothing but admiration and respect. No, no criticism. Hopefully, some added motivation, some added encouragement, and that's all. Yeah, that's all.
I
Inshallah.
hope this makes you smile the way it made me smile and chuckle out loud yesterday. So yesterday we had a couple of University of Pennsylvania students come with Israeli flags to the protest of 300 people, 2 or 3 kids just waving the Israeli flag.
Mm.
I look once and I see them. I'm like, pay it no mind. I'm not gonna look. Like, astaghfirullah, I'm not gonna look. And then I just somehow hear a noise. So I turn back again, and it's another cloth huge sign is covering the Israeli flags, and 2 elderly individuals are standing, and it said Jewish boomers for Palestinian freedom. And I was just like,
Masha.
Allah, God. Like,
Which is, man, I was saying, this is maybe another topic for another day. But
yes.
one of the casualties in this war is the public reputation of Judaism, man. I really,
Yes.
I saw a quote from an older Jewish man that said, the Star of David used to stand for a resilient people that had retained their identity in the face of oppression. He said, now it's almost like a swastika, and I think I identify with that. And I think that, even though I'm a Muslim, to think that a religious tradition would lose all of its moral value in pursuit of power and land is just, it's I pray Allah save us from that. I would never like to see that for us.
It gives me a little bit of the vibes of like taking the phrase Allahu Akbar and being able to say it publicly at an airport without
Yeah.
taking you down, right? You know what I mean? So it's like that pain is there, and I have so many individuals who I feel so much respect for, and the way that they're putting their lives on the line is just as much as ours, right? So collective within the Muslim Ummah, but collective as a community as well. With that, Sheikh, may I ask you to make a dua for all of us in light of everything going on?
Sister, do you want to make the dua?
No. I'm in the presence of a scholar. You must.
No. That's not a requirement for dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. محمد وعليه وصحبه وسلم. Oh Allah, give freedom and give liberty and give victory and give justice to people of Palestine. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Ameen.